You've never seen a deck like this before, believe me. Today we'll be doing a Dragon Zwei deck profile in the big 2026. So here it is. So we're going to be doing one right now in the big 26. So first off, we're going to be playing only just one copy of the reincarnated Great Demonic Dragon Azidahaka. This is a so-called defense mechanism for your Azidahaka ifs on the field. So this gives all cards on your field cannot be rested by opponent's card's effects, and when this card is destroyed, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your deck. And you may pay 1 life up and stand all items on your field, and you may only use this ability once per turn with move and triple attack. So again, this is legit just to give all cards on your field anti-rest on your field. So we just play only one copy of the reincarnated Great Azidahaka. Next up, we play 2 copies of the Demonic Dragon Deity of the Black Sun Gain, the original one. So this is the one where you transform into this card, your opponent cannot draw cards during his or her next turn, which is completely. So at the beginning of, like, for say a turn, you usually draw a card, you charge and draw, but unfortunately with this card your opponent can't do that. So it is a really strong control card. So when this card attacks, destroy all monsters on your opponent's field, and you may discard 2 size 2 greater monsters from your hand and pay 2 gauge if you do gain 5 life, but I find that mostly useless. So I only use this just for this ability, which is your opponents cannot draw cards by his not even by cards effects, just cannot draw cards at all. So again, this is a really good card. We play 2 copies of the original Gan. Next up, we play a really essential part for any Dragon Iron or Curio deck. So we just play 3 copies of Retainer of the Demonic Dragon for Viraga. So this is a so-called quick getaway card for going into either your, let's say if you're in Dragon Iron, is a quick card to get into your Aquata Gorneth, or for say in Dragon Zwei, which is right now, it is a fast way to go into Dragon Dry. So this is a really important card in both Dragon Iron and Zwei. So what this does is you may destroy a size 3 or greater monster with Azidahaka and this card's name on your field, and you may put this card from the field or hand into the drop zone, and if you do, draw 2 cards. So this is technically a draw and a way to destroy your Azidahaka during your turn, so you can quickly get your main things out. So we just play 3 copies of Retainer of the Demonic Dragon for Viraga. Next up, we play a really essential card in Dragon Zwei, which is the original Retainer of the Demonic Dragon, Destructor. So finalizer during your turn, when this card enters the field, you may pay 2 life. If your flag is Dragon Zwei, you draw 2 cards. Unfortunately, with this Destructor, if your flag is Dragon Dry, you are unable to use its ability, as this card states that you're only allowed to use its finalizer during if your flag is Dragon Zwei. So unfortunately, you can only use this in Dragon Zwei, not in Dragon Dry. So we play 3 copies of the Retainer of Demonic Dragon, Destructor. Next up, we play the evolved version of the Black Gain, which in this case is the Demonic Karma Deity, Dragon Deity of the Black Luster Gain if. So this Gain is responsible for calling 2, is the responsible card for calling 2 Azidahakas in the field. So what this card, I'm sorry the text is too small. I'll try to read it as clearly as I can for you all. So when you transform into this card, you draw 2 cards, and your opponent cannot draw cards by cards effects. So the only downside from this Gain is basically your opponents are allowed to draw by cards, just not by card effects. So yeah, all size of monsters with Azidahaka and this card's names on your field are reduced by 3. So this is the card responsible for having 2 Azidahakas on the field, or maybe even 3 if you want. And then when this card attacks alone, it attacks your opponent and all their monsters instead. So it's a Aquata Gorneth basically, with triple attack, critical of 3, 15, and 12. So this card only can enter the field together, the same with the original Black Gain, if your flag is Dragon Dry. So again, a really good card for Dragon Zwei. Next up, we play 2 copies of the Black Luster Dragon Azidahaka If. So this card, the only reason why I only play 2 of it is I don't really find much use for it if you were to only just because the other like deck profiles I saw that on YouTube, people play at least 3 to 4 of these, but I don't really see the reason why, as if you're going to filter through your entire deck just to get like 3 or 4 of them in the drop zone just to only call either 1 or 2. Because for my deck, I play the reincarnated Azidahaka, which requires just 1 more field space, so it prevents the Azidahaka If from being rested, and it's because at the end of this battle they discard attack. If there are no monsters on the opponent's field, drop up the 2 of your opponent's gauge, destroy 2 cards on your opponent's field, and deal 2 damage to the opponent. And at the start of your attack phase, if you're transformed into a card with Gaia and its card's name, doesn't matter whether it's the old or the new, you may call this card from your job without paying its call cost. But however, you may if you're in the original Gaia, you may only call 1 of this, as it does not have the size reduction ability as compared to the new one. So for what I will do is I would call 1, and I would call this from my hand before I start my attack phase. So during my attack phase, I would call this and this from the drop zone together with 1 reincarnator on the field with the brand new Gaian IF on the field, and I would have either a Time Journal to Bokus or a Return of Demonic Dragon for Vraga in my hand, so I could get rid of this card if ever needed. So I could attack with my Gaian IF. So this is my reasoning of only playing 2 copies of the Azidahaka IF in the current Dragon Zweis. Next up, I play only 2 copies of Return of Demonic Dragon Future Eater. This is your drop zone fetcher for Dragon Zwei, which is choose up to 1 size 3 or greater with dragon and its attribute from drop zone. You may destroy another monster on your field, which means you can destroy your Azidahaka Sis, which is this card right here, to go into your Dragon Dry faster. So if you do, put the chosen card into your hand, put the top card of the deck into the gauge, and you gain 1 life. So it's a good drop zone fetcher, just in case if your Azidahaka Sis ends up into the drop zone. So it's technically your lifesaver. So we only play 2 copies of Return of Demonic Dragon Future Eater. Next up, I play 2 copies of Operative Spear. This is technically your draw engine, which when this comes into the field, if you have another world name, if you have 2 or more different world names on your field, you may charge gain 1. Then if you have 2 or more world names on your field, you draw another card. And it's a once per turn named ability, so we play only 2 copies of Operative Spear. Next up, we play your minimal defense in this deck. Honestly, Dragon Zwei has not much defense because all you're relying on is your life and to control your opponents with the Black Gaian in the beginning of your turn. So what this does is you may discard this from your hand during an attack, and if you have 3 or more different warnings in your zone, which should be pretty easy to get, honestly. If you do nullify the attack, and if you have an Azidahaka on your field, you draw 1 card. So we just play 2 copies of the Abyss Shield Dragon. Next up, we play only just 1 copy of the Mark of Atonement Azidahaka Dive Assist. This is your main card into getting into Dragon Dry, using either for Vraga, Future Eater, or Tabokus. So when this card is destroyed, you may draw a card, and if your flag is Dragon Zwei, you put up a Dragon Dry from your hand or a deck on top of your flag, and shuffle your deck. If you do, gain 5 life, penetrate, triple attack, a still really good and strong beatdown card. But I would still choose the Azidahaka IF for the beatdown of this deck, or the Gaian IF. So we only just play 1 copy just for you to go into your Dragon Dry to transform into Gaian. Next up, we play 3 copies of Return of Demonic Dragon Glitar. So this is your Gaian or Dragon Dry from fetcher from the drop zone, just in case if either of them gets up in the drop zone and you really need them. This is what it's for. So you may obviously take a Gaian or a Dragon Dry when you activate its ability, or this is a really good defensive card as well, because during an attack on your opponent's turn, if your flag is either Dragon Zwei or Dry, you may put this card from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck if you do, and pay 1 gauge. If you do, nullify the attack and you gain 2 life. So we play 3 copies of Return of Demonic Dragon Glitter. Next up, we play another essential part of Dragon's Zwei, just in case if you can't get your Fovraga out or your Future Eater, you can use the Bokus, which in this case you may drop this card from your hand. If you do, gain 3 life. This is a so-called defense mechanism also too. And you may choose a card on your opponent's field, but you can just choose a blank target, and you may destroy a monster on your field and put this card from the drop into your bottom of your deck. If you do, destroy the chosen card. So it's another way to destroy your Azidahaka Sis if you do not have your Fovraga or your Future Eater on your field. So we play 3 copies of Time General to Bokus. Next up, we play another Time Dragon, which is a filter for this deck, which is Time Soldier Spigar. When this card enters the field, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, put 1 from your hand, and drop the rest. And it's a really good card, so you can get cards into your drop zone for, let's say, your for your Glitar or your Abyss Shield Dragon, so you can activate its ability. And you can use your so-called drop zone fetchers to either fetch them back. So it's a filter card, so we only play 2 copies of Time Soldier Spigar. Next up, moving on to the smaller monsters, we play 4 copies of Return of the Demonic Dragon Destructor Revival Buddy. What this does is basically when this comes to the field, if your flag is Dragon Zwei or Dry, which makes it even more better since you can use this card in Dry too, so therefore we play 4 copies. You may pay 1 life, put the top 2 cards of your deck into the gauge, and draw a card. And again, this is not once per turn, so you can abuse this as however many as you like. And so in this case, we are playing 4 copies of Return of Demonic Dragon Destructor Revival Buddy, all 4 copies. Next up, we play a Field Protector. This is Return of the Demonic Dragon Rados. This is your field protector for Dragon Zwei. If your flag is Dragon Zwei or Dry, drop this card from your hand. If you do, all cards on your field with Dragon and its attribute cannot be destroyed, returned to the hand, and their abilities cannot be nullified by opponent's card's effects. So again, this is your field protection for your Azidahaka IFs when you're about to attack. So we play 3 copies of Rados. Next up, we play another source of draw engine, Return of the Demonic Dragon Destructor of Vargas. So you may only call Vargas once per turn. When this comes to the field, put the top card of your deck into your gauge. Then if your flag is Dragon Zwei, draw a card. If your flag is Dragon Dry, you draw 2 cards instead of 1. So it's essentially, if you call this in Dragon Zwei, it's a charge 1, draw 2. And if it's in Dragon Zwei, it's a charge 1, draw 1. And again, it's a really good card, so we play 2 copies of Destructor Vargas. Next up, we play a Gauge Earner, because Zwei is known for gauge heavy, is known for being very gauge heavy. So we play Return of the Demonic Dragon Bloody On. In this card into the field, you put the top 3 cards in your deck into drop zone, put any amount of monsters from among them into your gauge. So this is essentially, since the Y is full of monsters, it's essentially a charge 3 from the top 3 cards that you put into your drop zone. So we play 2 copies of Returner of the Demonic Dragon Bloody On. Next up, we play a Searcher for your Azidahaka, which is Spawn of the Demonic Dragon Abyss Gate. When this card enters the field, you may discard a hand card, put a top card of your deck into your gauge, and you may put up to 1 Dragon Throne or size 3 greater monster with Azidahaka in its card's name from your deck into your hand and shuffle your deck. In this case, this card is also played in Dragon Ein, so it's a really hard card to find, especially the P-Follow version. So yeah, we play 3 copies of Abyss Gate. Because you need to search out your Azidahaka, you don't get it out, you can't go into Dragon Zwei, and yeah. Play 3 copies of Abyss Gate. Next up, we play another drop zone fetcher. No one has ever heard of this. Luckily, my one of my buddies told me about this. It's a really good card. I figured it out. Kudos to you. Thank you so much. So when it's comes to the field, you may choose a size 1 or less monster from your drop zone, and you pay on, if you do, you may pay 1 gauge, put the chosen card into your hand. And again, this is not once per turn, so you may call this twice per turn if you would like. And what you would usually target is your Abyss Gate. You can target your Abyss Gate, Bloodyon, Vargas, Destructor, Rebi, perhaps. You can target Glitar, Abyss Shield, Sphere, Versailles, Future Eater 2. You can target a lot of monsters in Dragon Zwei. So we played only 2 copies of first a Monaco. And next up, moving to the non-monsters, and starting off, we have 2 copies of Buddy Grandes. This is your filter for the deck, so you may choose an attribute on your field. Normally, for Dragon Ein or Dragon Zwei decks, you would usually choose the deity attribute, as most monsters in this Dragon Zwei deck are deities instead of like just dragon. So you would choose deity and you pay 1 gauge, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put up to 1 card with the attribute chosen for this card's cost, and put them to your hand, and put the rest to the bottom of your deck in any order. So we just played 2 copies of Buddy Grandes, a really good filter spell for the deck. Next up, we play a new addition to the deck, which is called Death Estray Ries. So you may draw a card, and you may choose one of the 4 followings, and usually you would choose the put up to 1 card with Azidahaka or Gain with its card's name from your deck into your hand. So this is essentially a searcher for your Gain, or your original black Gain. Or you may drop the top 5 cards of your deck, put the top 2 cards of your deck into your gauge. If you have, for example, a Future Eater or a Monaco in your hand, you can use this to fetch any card from the draw zone and get 2 additional gauge, 2 together. And or you can choose for this turn, all cards can attack even if your opponent have a monster in the center, and if they are attacking only alone. But however, you don't really need to use this, as your guy in IF can already attack your opponent and all their monsters together. So yeah, and the last one is, for this turn, when a card on your opponent's field is destroyed, you deal 2 damage to your opponent, which is really good for like field clearing, and you can use it when you have your guy in IF on the field. And so when you attack with it, it destroys all monsters on your opponent's field, if your opponent has 3 monsters on the field, you can deal 6 damage in total, not including the one with the 3 critical that it already has. So again, we play 2 copies of Death Estray Ries, a really good card for the current Dragon Zwei or Dragon Ein decks, or in most general in other decks too. And of course, the last 2 cards that we play is the Dragon Dry flag itself. This is the card responsible for going into Gain IF. So yeah, we usually, right, if your life would hit 0, you may put this card on top of a Dragon Zwei, and if you do, you gain 5 life. So essentially it's a revive thing, but usually this doesn't happen, as you have your Azidahaka Sis. So you would usually just go into dry your first turn and transform into your original black Gain on your first turn to prevent your opponent from drawing any cards. And the next turn you would transform into your Gain IF, get this out, and call 2 of your Azidahaka ifs, and just kill your opponent with it. And yeah, we just play 2 copies of it just in case one goes into the drop zone or one goes into your gauge and you can't get it. You know, it's a safety precaution. So we play 2 copies of the Dragon Dry flag itself. So that concludes my deck profile for Dragon Zwei in the current 2026 meta. If you have any comments you would like to leave or any changes that you would make to this deck, you can let me know down in the comments below. And for now, goodbye.